All right, everybody, back now, Newsroom Live. Antoine Lewis, very happy to be with you from the newsroom of Fox 5 Studios on the Upper East Side. In Lower Manhattan today, the second of the pretrial hearings for Luigi Mangione, the suspect accused of killing the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last summer. And we want to go now to our colleagues, Lisa Evers, and she's joined by Stephanie Bertini at some point also. But Lisa, I see you. Just walk us through everything that happened today.
Well, Antoine, I'm going to let Stephanie get into that, but we are here outside of Manhattan Criminal Court, 100 Center Street, day 2 of the pretrial hearing for Luigi Mangione. Now, we've talked between yesterday and today, we've talked with several legal experts, prominent legal experts, and one of the most important things that they're telling us is that at this pretrial hearing, what happens in that courtroom, you see in the building right behind us, is going to determine how this case is going to go, what the trial will be like if it in fact gets to that point. So I want to bring in right now my colleague Stephanie Bertini. She's been in the courtroom, the actual courtroom, all day long, and to get a sense, first of all, Stephanie, thank you for taking time on the little lunch break right now. First of all, tell us about Luigi Mangione's demeanor, because some of the pictures we saw from the pool feed inside the courtroom, he looked a lot different than yesterday. Tell us about that.
So he appeared stoic overall. I think that was similar to yesterday, but he seemed maybe at times engaged, at times withdrawn. It was kind of this back and forth, maybe a little tired, maybe, you know, obviously you can imagine for anyone in that seat, it would feel exhausting, defeating, I don't know. I mean, just covering court, we know that it's a long and tedious process. So this is now day 2 since he's been back here at Manhattan Criminal Court. At times, though, he did seem very engaged, and I'll tell you why. As prosecutors, and I guess we'll get into that, we're going back and forth with the witness on the stand, which is an officer. As the prosecution would speak, you would see him looking over. And then they were playing video in the courtroom. As the video was playing, you'd see him looking over at the video. So we did see that engagement back and forth. I would say overall, kind of low energy or serious energy. I mean, I don't know him, so I'm just inferencing from body language. Those body language experts can break it down more for sure. But I would say a serious tone, an engaged tone at times. Sometimes we noted him looking off to the side, sometimes borderline nonchalant. But again, we're looking at him.
It's a long, you don't know, it's a long day. And also, too, it's like, he's been staying at MDC. Yeah. And when we spoke with Arthur Aidala for the noon, attorney Arthur Aidala, he said, which I thought is totally true, but I hadn't really thought about it. He said that like yesterday he could have come in and actually had, you know, a good night's sleep, as good as you can get at MDC, and that you can wait for hours at times. Like your court case here could be over for like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then wait until 10 o'clock to get back there. Yeah. And it's like a whole big procedure on that. But let me ask you this, because these were the law enforcement officers from Pennsylvania. Yeah. How did they come across today? So did they come across? Were they convincing? Were they?
So we got a look at body cam video, which is really telling because it paints the picture of what happened inside that McDonald's. There was an officer on the scene, and it's interesting because I think we'll see this headline not only on news, different news platforms, but also on social media, that the officer that initially got the call said, the lieutenant said, if you arrest this suspect, Mangione at the time, or, you know, this manhunt underway out of New York, I'll buy you a hoagie. So a free hoagie was referenced several times in court. So we don't know yet if he did get him the hoagie. But, you know, he said that the demeanor was one as such, kind of sarcastic, kind of, yeah, right. They didn't think that was him when they got the initial call. That officer said, though, and it's interesting, not to plug the mothership, but there were several references to Fox News, and I'll tell you why. He said he watches...
the video. Fox News had the video of him allegedly shooting the CEO, Brian Thompson.
And he said, I watch a lot of Fox News, and I had seen a lot of the video and a lot of, you know, the surveillance, the mugshots on Fox News. So the prosecution really used that to paint the picture that he knew what Mangione looked like. So he said, as soon as I saw him, made contact with him when he went in that McDonald's. So the initial call is someone that looks like this person on the run is in that McDonald's. He said when he saw him near the back of the McDonald's, I don't know the exact layout, but near the background, it seems like kind of where the bathrooms are, their franchises. They all kind of look the same. He said that he knew it was him right away. And then what happened? There's this back and forth dialogue. And again, they're playing down body cam video. So we're hearing this, right? And there's this back and forth dialogue between the officer and Mangione, and then eventually there's another officer and they're calling backup and this and that. But that initial officer is painting the picture of, yeah, there's a policy here that if people are essentially loitering, I'm paraphrasing, they're in here too long, they call. So he doesn't let up that the reason that he's there with him is because they think he's the suspect out of New York.
Right.
Another thing that came out in court was, so now the prosecutors are painting the picture of the use of a fake ID.
Right.
And you hear in that surveillance video a man who looks exactly like Mangione. So again, it's surveillance. Everyone's, entitled due process, but we're watching that video in court admit later on that he did, that his name is in fact Luigi Mangione. So there was a name that was used, admitted essentially to a fake ID, and it was the fake ID charge. That's how the cops in Pennsylvania
Right, they got him on the fake ID charge. And also he was yesterday there was testimony from one of the workers at McDonald saying that he used cash. He was using cash, so he couldn't pay at the kiosk. In McDonald's you go in and you order it from the kiosk. And then he would go, that he paid cash at the counter in order to not have any type of card or anything like that traced. So in terms of what about the lawyers? What about the prosecutors in terms of their demeanor and?
So they're going back and forth, really kind of going through this sort of line by line or piece of video by piece of video. I say line by line because they're asking that officer, you said this, what did you mean? Or what did you see when you saw that? Interesting, they painted a picture of what seems to be, and I'm inferencing now because I'm still digesting this information. You're listening,
you're constant, all the details.
So there's an initial frisk in which the officer said he doesn't find anything, and later on it came out that peanut butter was found and some other objects. So essentially, I think they're painting the picture that he had layers on. Interesting too, the timestamp on the body cam footage that we're watching. So I'm in there for hours.
Right.
Step out and get rained on behind the scenes here on Newsroom Live. But sitting in the courtroom 4 hours and we're going minute by minute. So we're not even at 10 a.m. After 9, I think, is when they initially went in.
Right.
So Mangione had just finished breakfast. So he's eating the McDonald's. This is going on back and forth.
Right.
At first he's told, that he thinks that it's just, it's a loitering thing, I guess. That's the picture they're painting. Eventually he's told that now he's under investigation. So he understands that something is happening. But the minutes leading up to that arrest, it's not even an hour, and you see this kind of unraveling.
And let me just bring in, Antoine, if you have any questions about this, but let me just pull back a little bit and give kind of like a drone view of the whole thing, too.
Right.
Because all of this, Antoine, is this whole pretrial hearing, every lawyer that we've talked to and interviewed is telling us that this is, it's what this is really all about is that gun, that 3D printed gun that they found, that police say they found in the backpack, the search of the backpack, which his Mangione's team is saying was unconstitutional because they didn't have a warrant.
Right.
And also the other thing that'll be interesting is that you have this happened in Pennsylvania. They have a little bit of different laws apparently than New York State does in terms of searches, in terms of when they can search somebody's property, that type of thing. So all of these details, these great details, and thank you so much for taking your break out here with us.
Right.
Happy
that
to.
Stephanie is giving us is it's filling in that narrative that prosecutors are trying to portray to justify what was done, so they can keep that evidence in because they need it to in order to get a conviction. Antoine, are you trying to ask us something, or you guys are telling us we're out of time?
No, we're good. I know Stephanie's on a short window because I know she has to get back in line to get back inside, but I had a question, and either of you can answer this. A lot has been made of the, I don't want to say fan club that Luigi Mangione has built or whatever like that. Any of that inside the courtroom, Stephanie, or outside, Lisa? Have you known any of seen any of these supporters who apparently have been showing up, at some of the court hearings, at least during the arraignment and some of the other parts since he's been arrested?
Well, let me start with the outside, and then we'll get the inside from Steph. The outside here right now is pouring rain.
Yeah.
We're under the beautiful Fox 5 tent. We love the deluxe.
That's why we're not getting rain.
Architecture here. Shout out to the guys for putting this out for us. But there's some tents. They actually set up some I don't know what they're called, the pop tents or whatever, that are out here. There's only about 4 of them. It's pouring rain. Most of them look unoccupied. and there's no protesters really out here today. But what about inside?
So,
Steph?
we learned with high-profile cases like with the Diddy trial that you covered intensely. I mean, especially the elements are going to play in. This is New York City. There's seasons. So on a day like today, when you get this kind of weather, obviously with the Diddy thing, the weather was warmer. So that might push and pull the crowd. I don't think it's to that extent. But what we do know is that there are a lot of eyes on Manhattan Criminal Court, Antoine. People that can come passing by. Again, we're day 2 now, but also online. Now, inside, so let's talk about going in. A lot of layers to get in there, you know this well. You know this,
you have to be in the list to be very early.
You got to be in a list. They're giving us these green cards so we can get in. It's a whole thing. It's on the 13th floor. So by the time you get up there as press, you've or media, you've already gone through a layer of different things. It's a whole situation to get in, right? And so we're walking in. So I did a little social media video or a little selfie video behind the scenes. They ran it on Newsroom Live to kind of show the press pen upstairs, because we're standing in the media row, the press pen outside under this tent. There's also one upstairs where you can only only record from that section of the hallway, right? So you see the media all lined up, mostly photographers, some reporters, some digital reporters, and then you walk in. And when I walked in this morning, Antoine, Lisa, I noted the courtroom was full. I did expect it to be more packed, but again, there's logistical things. Maybe the weather
would take pre-trial,
and it's still pre-trial, but a lot of media, and you know what that speaks to, as you know, the engagement.
Right.
So when it comes to this as a current affairs or a news story or issue, when it comes and let's not forget, this made international headlines, right?
Yeah, totally.
And the social media engagement. So that whole the fan component, so to speak. I mean, maybe for a lack of better words, but the intrigue. But I think we did.
Well, there's a lot of narratives. There's like a lot of storylines going through this whole saga and this
there
entire
are
crime.
young women in love with this guy.
No, there totally are.
Yeah,
they totally
are. The star power of this.
He's raised on his website. He's raised on his website over $1.5 million.
Exactly. That's why I was asking, about it, because of just how intense some of the females who have found him, worthy of their attention, to some degree, like that. Ladies, we can't thank you enough.
I saw a row in the back. Antoine. Is he wrapping
I'm trying to make sure she gets back in the line.
I was just going to, I'm going to get back in. We're going to be back in by 2. They're starting at 2:15. But I noticed in the back, and, we've seen this again and again over the years covering court, 2 rows, and they might have been law students. I don't know exactly, but interesting, because that would speak to this phenomenon, too. When you see these high-profile cases, Antoine, Lisa, you do see sometimes
a lot of students
students going and people going to spectate. But it's tough to get in there. It might be busier, if the weather isn't as bad outside, but overall, I'm going to head back in. Lisa will be out here doing these hits.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
And thank you for your excellent reports from inside the court.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Antoine.
Stephanie, stay dry. Thank you so much for joining us. Lisa, I know that you, Mike Nash, and our other crew down there also have things to do. So we can't thank you enough for giving some color, if you will, to what's going on in Lower Manhattan. And both of you, be careful as you're making your way back home, because the roads are still going to be slick. Thank you so much for being with us, both of you.
All right, Antoine, Stephanie, thank you. Antoine, thank you very much.